And so depending upon how much I can do, we'll see if we can do an in-class assignment in the last hour or something. I'm not sure. We'll see how it works. Okay, so please open up. We'll start with the factory.sql I've given you. So that's a solution, right? I've already given you a solution because that is where I found that maybe 1/4 or maybe 1/3 of the class had problems with question number 14 in the exam. You have the format, you have everything. All you have to do is kind of put in values, and not all of you could do it. Keep in mind, I'm guiding you here, right? I'm giving you the resources. I've given you something that should help you to do something yourself. You can't be babies. You have to learn to research and do things on your own. You just can't copy and paste and say, oh, everything will work. And you can't come up with saying you never taught this in class. That's not how it works, guys. You can't do that. So you have some responsibility on your part also. It's just not me. So if I give you something, I give you the format of it. All you have to do is at least know how to use it. You have to be good researchers while you're running. Research something. You had the manual. I gave you the manual to look at. So even then, if you're kind of stuck, then you need a little more practice in researching. So you can start opening the files. We'll start with factory. So if you want, I can put the midterm solution on Blackboard as I have written it, if that helps. Okay. But this is the question where I found most, I don't know, I think maybe 1/4 or half, 1/3 or half the class, I'm not so sure. But updates can be done, and you had enough. The format was with you. I had already mentioned it in class that, you know what, you should know how to do it. Maybe you didn't even try doing it, and so you got stuck in the exam. So here is the solution for 14. All it says is, I want you to update the short description field which you had added, and it depends upon the book type, right? So there are two ways you can do it. This is exactly like the format that was on Blackboard in factory_Blackboard, right? So that this format is something that you can use. I'll tell you another format you can use. So what is it saying? It's saying update the table. What are you trying to set? You're trying to set the short description field to what? So the equal. The rest is a case statement. The case statement says, which field do you want me to check, right? Which field do you want me to check? So I'm saying I want you to check the book type field, and I'm saying when it is popular comp, then the value of short description is this. So now here there are two options. You could write the book, the variable name here, or you could put it right here. Both are allowed. You could have done it this way also, where book type is equal to, right? And remove the book type from here. Then the only difference is in every of these case statements, you'll have to say book type is equal to this, book type is equal to this, book type is equal to this. So this is your condition. So it said when condition, what do you want to do? What's the new value? And you had the format. You didn't even have to think about it. I'll open the format for you. So I'm going to open the midterm that the Blackboard factory that I gave you. So where have I placed it? This is Wednesday, right? And week 8. So I have the same files that you have. They're no different. So this is, you had this at your disposal, right? You had seen this case statement. So what is it saying? All I did was substitute values. I want to update a table. I want to set this field, the field that you want to update. And these are the cases. When the condition, then the new value. That's it. That's all, right? So if I take this format, just take this format from here and put it in your midterm solution for a minute. And kind of compare it now as to what I've done. So what am I saying? Update my table name, set the field to update, set short description, and then came the conditions. So like my solution is a little different way, but that's all you have to do. This is your condition. When book type is popular comp, then the new value, all it says is new value. Then the new value of short description is computing is fun. Yes.
You have to put book type in the after case.
You can do it either way. You can put it after case, then you don't have to repeat it in every line. Okay. You can do it either way. Both are allowed, right? But I am just showing you the format that you had on Blackboard. It was that like you could use it. So even if you didn't if you didn't want to say, oh, is there another way? Don't even bother about it. This will work too. I'm exactly doing what was on, and I told you it's in factory.blackboard. So you You had the resources. This is exactly the format, of course, with values. So if you put this in comments, definitely this will give you a problem. I've just copied it, nothing else. How long does that take? Why would you panic is the biggest thing. You have the format, all you have to do is substitute the values. Table name replaced by table name. Field to update replaced by the field you want to update. The case comes as this, and here comes when, and the condition. And what is your condition? Book type is popular comp, book type is business, book type is psycho, book type is mod com, and book type is. And what's your new value? All it says is the new value. What's the new value of short description? That's all it says. Like, is there something that you cannot do? No, you can. Like, even if you hadn't done it, though I said, please, you may see it in the exam. I had given you that hint also. I had given you the format. During the exam, I said the format is in the factory blackboard. Like, you have to learn to do these things, guys. When you go out in the market, in the industry, you are on your own. Keep in mind, you are on your own. You will have to do research work to find solutions and then implement them. And all within time limits. You can take your time. It's all within time limits. That is the only question where you could have got stuck. Stuck means 5 minutes. The rest was so easy. Select, update, and delete. How long does that take? Not even 10 minutes. So the exam was not more than an hour. But because it's an exam environment, because you are tensed, because there is stress, I give you the whole time. I say, okay, do it. Take your time. That's all you needed. Right? And another way of doing it is, just because Tyrell asked, you can even do this. You can remove you can write case book type, and then you don't have to say book type equal everywhere. I don't think anybody did that because the format didn't show it, but still, that's another way of doing it. Then you don't have to repeat it so many times here, which is easy. You don't have to type it over and over and over again. That's it, done. So if you run this script, hopefully I haven't made any other mistake. And so this is, I mean, even the last one will show it. There it is. Right? This is called an update with a case statement. You're programmers, guys. This is easy programming. Case statement is something you see in every language. And I'm not even asking you to create one. The answer is right here. Okay, so that's the solution, and I will, if you could email me if I forget, I'll put this solution on Blackboard. Okay, so the factory, here is the solution of the factory one now. So you had this, we never did it in class. You could have done it if you wanted, but it was up to you. So here is the factories ones. It says create the factories table. So this is with you. I've already placed it on Blackboard. So the table was here. Everything was mentioned. The records were inserted, and now there was something to be done. So what I've done is I've said alter the table, add a new field, add a new column. So add a new column, add the country column. So it's just an alter statement. Oh, that reminds me. Don't do things that you don't have to do. When I say make title, title ID, the primary key, this is all I want. Add it. So add primary, like add unique. Why would you say modify my title ID to become, then in modify, you'll have to give the name of the field, you'll have to give the type of the field, then you will say it's a primary key. Why do it? I mean, it's correct, but it's redundant. It's not efficient. You're modifying the field, and in modify, you need the name of the field. You need what type, anything that it already has, you will have to repeat everything. And then you say primary key in front of it. This is a better way of doing it. All you're saying is make my title ID a primary key. We have done add primary. I did it in class in one of the examples. You've also done add unique in one of your assignments, in that car assignment. Remember the project one? I said make win a unique field. You say add unique and it will work. So try to write efficient code, because again, the aim is not that it works. The aim is it works perfectly. You're writing efficient code. You're programmers. I don't want to create bad programmers. I want to create perfect programmers. If you think right and you do things right, you'll always go on that path. So you don't need a modify here, but 90% of the class did a modify. So I didn't dock off marks, but it's not efficient. This is more efficient. I just made it the primary key. Bradley.
I understand that question 7 is absent.
What 7 was this? I kind of put them together. You can put them together. 6 and 7 can be done together. You don't have to write two alter table statements.
Right, well, I was just trying to follow.
Yeah, so 6 and 7, I can do it together.
And as for number 14, I didn't get enough time to work on it because I had to submit my assignment before this.
Okay, that's okay. I mean, you get what you do give me, so I'm just telling you what has to be done. So I did 6 and 7 together. You don't have to repeat the alter table statement again. You can do it together, right? You shouldn't be, actually, you shouldn't be. You write alter table once and you can do whatever you like as many times as you like. But this is a more efficient way of doing it rather than saying modify my column title ID. You're not modifying it. Why do we use modify? We use modify when we want to change the size of the field. Are you changing the size of the field? No. You do change when you want to change the name and the size. Are we doing that? No. So why would I use change or modify? So a few of you used change, which was absolutely redundant. You're not changing the name, you're not changing the type, you're not changing the size. I'm not doing anything. Most of you did modify, and I said, okay, that's okay. It's not perfect, but it's okay. It will work. It won't work efficiently, but it will work. But this is the most efficient one. And I think a couple of you did it. A couple. I can only say a couple. So out of 60 students, maybe 2, 3, I don't know. But that was good that you're thinking. So as there is an add primary key, there is also an add unique, which was done in your assignment. And if you hadn't done that, I had given it in my feedback to do it using add unique. Either you're not paying attention to my feedbacks or you just don't care. Whatever it was. But I take my time to give you my feedback so that you learn from it for the future and you don't make that mistake again. So if you don't want my feedback, please let me know so that I can stop putting in so much effort and time into it. It takes time, right? I'm putting so much effort into giving my feedback so that you don't make those mistakes again. If you're not going to, just tell me, I don't care. Don't give me your feedback. I don't require it. And I'll stop it. At least I'll save time, right? And I'll give feedback to people who are interested. So this was another thing which was, as I said, almost absent. Maybe a couple of students did. The rest was easy. There was not much to ask. Cast was again something people missed, though it was right in this exam. It said, please cast your text as date. It's written right there. It was an instruction right there. Remember, we've already talked about casting text into date. Then we'll never make mistakes. If you try to give something that is invalid, it will catch it. Anything invalid, and you say cast it as date, it will catch it. Whereas if you use it as text, it's fine. It doesn't even bother. I mean, this is normal text. There's nothing wrong in this text at all. It doesn't know it is an year. So if you don't cast it, things may work because it's just using it as text. But if you cast it as a date, you can never make a mistake. And I had said, please cast your text as date. Either, again, 50% did it, 50% did. And of course, you're going to lose marks here if you don't do it. So I can be lenient in some, but if I've asked for a requirement, then I want you to do it. So this was another thing that was missing, at least in 50%. The rest was not bad. It was okay. Oh, this, many of you stumbled on it. You can give new display headings when you show your data. So what have I said? I've said select my book title, but when you select it, what is it, 12? So somewhere here maybe? No, somewhere here then? No. There it is. That's the output. I've told you to change the display headings only. I haven't said alter your table. And can I give this name to a field in the table? I cannot. Can fields have blanks in them? No, they can't. So students are writing alter statements for question number 12 and they're changing the name of the field. I said, please change the display headings. And we've done this in class. Maybe you've forgotten. So as I said, either you're not paying attention or you just don't care. Your aim is, if I pass, I pass. And that should not be your aim, guys. Learn whatever you learn perfectly. So all I said was, I want to see this title, book title, as that's the heading I want for this field. And I want publisher ID for this field. So I've removed my underscores. I've given it grammatically there right now, and they look better. So all you do is use the alias names. If you remember, I said you don't even need as. You can pick up your old scripts and see we've done this. We've done it in a couple of scripts. So you may put the word as, you may not put the word as just kind of makes it clear. You may work without the quotes, but if you work without the quotes, then you can't have more than one word. If it is more than one word, like book title, publisher ID, if there is more than one word, then you have to put it in quotes. So putting in quotes is always okay, even if it is a single word. So that was required, missing in 90%. 10% did do it, but you were lost here. I'm seeing alter statements here. They're changing, you're changing the name of the field, but what are you changing? As I said, again, but that's okay. So if it was not done, you just lose a very small portion of your mark, but you lose it, right? Still, I've been trying to say, oh, that's too much to ask in 2 marks. All you forgot was a not null. I'm still talking of 0.25 somewhere, 0.5 somewhere, just trying to give you what you've done. But when you get a marking scheme, that's how it goes, right? It's incorrect. You've done a little bit of it. You've done almost half of it. You've almost done it, and it's perfect. There is nothing else. So even if you make a small mistake, you may lose 2 marks. And again, I don't do that. I say, oh God, why should you lose 2 marks for having forgotten to put a default value? I still try to be very lenient. But you know now, second half, there is no leniency at all, so that you get used to it before your final exam. I'm not being lenient. Whatever I see is whatever I mark. I've given you enough. We've done 4 in classes. We've done a midterm. I've given you my feedback, everything. Now there is no leniency. I need perfect things. If it works perfectly, you get your marks. Otherwise, you just go down the marking scheme. Okay, that's the use of a rubric. So this was missing, quite a few. As I said, almost 90% missing. That's how you give alias names. These are called alias names. You're just showing it. It's only for display purposes, nothing else. They just look neater, but it can be done. Insert statement. Again, we've done so many inserts, like so many of them. If you're not, this is how you escape any special character. You just put a backslash in front of it. Whether it's a double quote, whether it's a single quote, anything that's a special character, you just put a backslash in front of it. You could double it also, quote, quote. That's another way of doing it. But backslash will work everywhere. So you don't have to bother at all, because these backslashes are called escape sequences. Every language has it. Why are they called escape sequences? You're trying to escape the meaning of the quote. Right? The meaning of quote is you put quotes, you use in MySQL, you use quotes to delimit your text data. Now that's not what you want to do. You want to use it as a quote. So you're saying escape from your meaning and use it as a quote. Therefore, they're called escape sequences. Right? Again, 50% I would say did it, 50% didn't. But you know, if you miss this, you're going down the rubric by 2 marks. Yeah, that's another thing. Some of you did this, but you know what, Tejbir? It's not the right way of, in the sense that that's another way of doing it. And a couple of students did it. And I said, okay, that's okay. But you be consistent. If you're using single quotes in text, just do it single quotes everywhere. I didn't dock off marks for it. But why do it when there is a better way of doing it? Then you're seeing, oh, this has it, let me use double quotes. This doesn't have it, let me use single quotes. So you're trying to manipulate it. But if I do it the way I've done it, or the way I'm telling you to do it, then it's absolutely universal. Doesn't matter whether you're using Oracle, whether you're using MySQL, whether you're using DB2. It will work everywhere. What if Oracle doesn't allow you to use double quotes? Then what will you do? You know what I mean? So if you do it the correct way, the universal way, you can never go wrong. So that was something that was missing, not a big deal, but this was again almost 50%. Now what's so tough in it? The last 2 records only had 4 fields. Mention your field names here and put the values. The rest 3, what happens to the rest 3? The rest 3 will take default values automatically. So if you don't have a default of anything, I think it goes to blank. For decimal, maybe it goes to 0 for numeric. I can't remember, but you had them. Default values are given. And here, so if it was not, date can be null. So its default is automatically null. Right? So these values, it will automatically fill them up. It will do it on its own. You don't have to worry about it. So insert statement, you can work with as many number of fields you like in any sequence you like. So you can change the sequence and you can put in your data in any sequence. Or I don't even need this if I'm putting all of them in the same sequence as my table. I don't even have to bother to give these names. But if you want to change the sequence, sure, go ahead and change the sequence. If you're only interested in putting 4 fields, you can do that as long as it is viable. And what is the meaning of viable? There is some way it will automatically give values to it. Default will go into default. The null field will become null. So you can't do this for fields if you've said, oh, this is a primary key. You can't leave it. You have to put in a value into it. But if you can, or the other way is this, so that you know. The other way is this. You'll say, can I do it in the same insert statement? Yes, you can. You can do it like this. And what you do is, since 3 fields are missing, you'll say use the default for this field, use the default for this field, and use null for this field. You can add in those 3 values yourself. But don't put in a 0. Nobody's like, again, I let it go. I said you shouldn't be using a 0, because then you are saying, oh, 0 is the default, let me put a 0. Use the word default. Let it put whatever the default value is. Again, it's a better way. Don't manipulate it. Just say use the default. So you could have done it this way also. So you're using one insert statement and you're doing it, you're just filling up the rest of the fields. You can do it this way also. So whatever works for you.
Don't you not want us to alter the information though?
No, you can't add your own information. You can't add your own data. You can do this because this is not manipulating it. It's default nature also. When I use this, when I only give these 4 fields, by default it uses default null.
Okay.
That's its default nature.
Yeah.
So I'm not adding any data. I'm just leaving it. But if you start doing this, which again, now that you mentioned it, a couple of students had done it, you can't say, oh, she gave us incomplete data, so let me fill it myself. I'll put 19 point, whatever is required. I'll put this. You can't do that. You can't change my data. I said, this is my data. How can you change it? You can change it. So you're in a way, the last 2 records are not correct. It's incorrect data. So I didn't give a 0. I took off only for the last 2, I just took off marks. But if the insert statement was wrong, then you get a 0. Because you're stopping at insert. Actually, there is no output after that at all, but I marked everything after fixing this for many students. I fixed it for students who didn't do it. But if the script stops right here, I don't see any output. So how will I give you marks? It's as simple as that. If you don't see output, why are you expecting me to give you marks? Right? So either one of this is correct. I choose to do this, but you can put it here if you like. I mean, I'll put this on Blackboard for you. This is another way of doing it. You could have just added it here. So I did see this option in some assignments, in some exams. And again, even if they put a 0 there, I let it go. But this is something you can do yourself. Insert only those fields which are given. The rest will automatically take whatever is their default value. Right? So this was another thing where you were missing. So you could do it this way or the other way. So I'll kind of put it here for you guys, but I mean, this is just to show you that it will work both ways. Well, I mean, of course, you'll have to change syntax and so on. But I'm saying, okay, the rest of the 3 values, because there were 7 fields, is default, is whatever is the default, and null, because I know that null is the default. It's not a not null field. So I'll kind of leave them here. Of course, you'll have to put commas and semicolons when you use them. So this is to show you. So many students had that mistake. So the table data never got inserted. There is nothing to mark after that. The script stops, right? So all I did was I said, okay, your insert isn't working. So, okay, I won't give you marks here, but I'll still give you marks for your other things. And we have done this in class. I've used the default, I remember. I've used the null. I've inserted only some fields myself. I remember it. And you had all these scripts at your disposal. You could use them. Right? But again, whatever. So maybe now that you know, you won't forget it. So that was another thing. And the single quote, any special character, anything that is special, you can escape it using the backslash. So what are special? Quote is special, double quote is special, the slash itself is special. So just escape it. These are called escape sequences, and programmers must know about it. We use it in Java. Don't you say \n for the new line character? Why? N is a character, but you want to give it a special meaning. You don't want to use it as n, you want to go to a new line. So you use \n. Those are called escape sequences. Okay, and that's what we do here. And we've done it in class. I remember I did it. Anything else that you didn't know and would like to ask? These are the common things I saw. Right? So please ensure text data is always in quotes, and it was again in your instructions. So it was not a tough exam at all. There were 4 select statements, 2 update statements, and 1 delete statements, and 2 alter statements. It was not asking too much of you. And you could have got perfect. Like it was it's a script that will run perfectly. So like everything is given back to you. You can go through your rubric, you can go through your feedback. If you're not satisfied, come and see me. Right? I still have that option open because I can always make a mistake. I'm human anyway. Right? I can always make a mistake in marking something. I forgot to mark something, can happen. And comments, how big is it? A purpose to, and I do it all the time, to create a database, a table, to store what, and then you have to perform search, updates, and delete on the data. Like whatever I've asked you, all you have to do is just put it in black and white. That's all you have to do. Again, purpose was missing or half done or whatever, or incorrect at so many places. And then I said, please document every section. I'm not even looking at one line at a time. Drop if exists, create and use the database. Just one line will do. Set the environment, drop the existing database. It was the question being asked of you. All you had to do was just document each section. And I'm not even looking at these ones. Like I'm not even looking at your selects or anything. I'm only looking till here, till where I've said document it. I'm only looking till here. After that, you can even stop it. Like it doesn't matter. But at least the purpose must be there. At least you must tell me what you're doing. So this is something that you're just losing marks where you can avoid it. So don't do it. I would recommend not losing marks anywhere, but it's up to you. Okay, so I'll go through factories because I didn't want to put in more time typing it here itself. So I've altered the table. I've added a new column because I need to add a new column. I could say not null or whatever I wanted to, but if there is nothing given, don't do it. So some of you said, oh, she forgot the not null, I think, and you're putting not null yourself. I didn't want to do it because WAMP and XM behave a little differently with not null. So I said, just leave it. Don't worry about it. But if you've done it, I've not docked marks again. I've just said, okay, whatever. Now the setting. So this is the case. So what have I used here? I've done it a little differently in the sense that I've used, in one, I've used the when province, I've used the conditions here, and in one, I've written the condition here. It's the same way. All it is saying is set the country to Canada, to CA if the province is ON, Ontario, and set the country to US if the province is W. It's like an if statement. Cases are if, you know that. That's what a case statement is. And that's how you have to do it. So the format, all I did was take the format from wherever I gave you, and I kind of plugged in here. Right? And notice, again, just to show you, because I don't know if you think it can be done, you can write your 4 insert statements, like different 4 insert statements. It's more work, but some programmers prefer it. They want to write one insert statement for each record they insert. I don't like it personally, but that's my personal preference, right? But it is correct. You can do it this way if you like. And they like to write all the field names here, which is fine again. That's fine. However you want to do it, it really doesn't matter, but it has to be correct is the important point. So here is your case. I've given it to you. And notice here, I didn't expect it from you, but what I've done here, you can also add an else statement. So it was not in the format. So, and I wasn't expecting it, but you can have an else. What does else say? It's like your default. The default says, if any of the conditions is not true, please give IN to country. Short for India, so that you know what IN stands for. Okay. So in the case, you can have a default case. This is called the default. It says if none of the cases is true, do this. So if I don't have a default, it will just leave it empty or null or whatever your field was. If you had given it a default, if you had given it a null, whatever it was. But you can always add an else at the end of your case, which is for default. And open the manual if you're stuck. Just open it. But I mean, whatever it is, maybe seeing first time kind of puts you off. So I've given you both solutions. Both will work. You can mention the name of the field that you're checking right with the case like I've done here. Then you don't have to keep it repeating it in every line. That helps you, like it saves you some work. And for your information, describe shows the structure of the table, not select. Select shows you the records of the table. And describe shows you the description, the field structure of your table. So I'm asking describe and I'm getting select. I'm asking select and I'm getting God knows what. Right? So everything, whatever I asked, I've marked it. And the rubric is just following my instructions. So that way it helps you to see. So that's your factory, right? So the solution is on Blackboard for you just in case you want it, and I'll put my midterm. Now let's start doing a few things. So we'll start with, they're all the same. It's not a big deal. We'll start with employees. We'll start with employees. Now, the option, the purpose of this script The purpose of this script is to alter the given table. Maybe I should put it in every script. I should say, please, to create a database and store a table that saves employees information, and then write the extra. Keep in mind, a complete purpose is what you're doing in the script. It's not midterm exam. It's not what Anju has asked us to do. It's not that. It's the purpose of the script. What does the script do? So if you're creating a database and you're creating a table and then you're altering it and so on and so forth, please write the complete purpose. Okay. Okay. So I hope all this I don't have to repeat. This is just doing the normal that we've been doing. Keep in mind, anytime you work with money, please use the decimal. Don't use float. Float is very different from decimal in terms of how it works. I can show it to you. When you try to save something in a float, it misbehaves. Misbehaves means if I say float comma 2 and I'm trying to say, like it doesn't save the right value. You can do a select all and see. It doesn't work properly. So with 3 places of decimal, it tries to give it 3 places and the 0.50 will become 049. It works, it behaves that way. So do not use float when you're working with monetary values. Use decimal. Not so difficult to remember, right? So what the table here is called employees. Again, in this one, I have used DB without an underscore. Whatever you do, please be consistent. It really is up to you. At this point of time, the naming convention is you can use whatever. You can use underscores if you like. You may not use them. You may not use the word DB. Whatever works for you. But be consistent, right? Okay, so the field has 4 fields. There is an employee ID. There is an employee name. There is a date of hire. And there is a salary week. Oh, salary weekly. I should call it weekly salary, right? Kind of what, salary weekly. So a better name would be weekly salary. So I'll kind of leave it. Otherwise, I'll have to change it or I can do a control F. I've again come back to my original. I've added values. You may or may not mention the field names here. If your sequence is not different from what it is in the table, you needn't mention it, right? And you can put all the values together. Dates can be put in single quotes or date can be put without the quotes and no dashes. Whatever makes sense to you, do it that way. This makes more sense to me. So I always use it this way because that's how it works for me, okay? Then I do a select star from implies simply to show you data, and I do a describe, but the describe, because I have to do a few things, that's why I've written a describe and a select at the end. If you run the script right now, there is not much to run because it's just a script, but that's your data, right? Now, the aim of this script, of course, I want to alter, and I also want to use some string functions. I'll introduce you to string functions. I'm not saying I'll do all the string functions in MySQL. I can't do it. There's so many, right? But there's string functions. There is a left, there is a right trim, a left trim, substring, index. So there's so many. If you know how to use them, if you know a couple, then you can always use the rest. Again, so it's not, I'm not saying I'm doing all of them, but I'll try my best to do a few, and then in the assignment, you can do whatever is asked of you. Okay, so let's try to do a few. It says add 2 new columns for the first name and the last name. So I'm going to take this name, and I would like to, instead of saying employee name, I want to have an employee first name, and I want to have an employee last name. But I don't want to kind of retype my data or anything. So I'll alter my table. I'll add the new fields, and then I'll pick up the name, and I'll split it into first name and last name using string functions. And there are many ways of doing the same thing. I'll show you a couple. Okay. Okay. So what do I do? So you alter the table. How do you do it? We already know how to do it. We'll do an alter table. The name of the table is employees. And I want to add 2 new columns. And I haven't said what is the field. We'll go with 2020, right? You could use whatever you like. I'm saying add 2 new columns for first name and last name. You can say 20 characters each. Okay, so we alter the table. How do we add a new column? We go add column, the name of the column. So what's my EMP? I'm using EMP for employee, but you don't have to necessarily. You can go employee first name. Oh, let's use the same alter statement so that you know I can do it. Okay, add another column. Oops. So what will be the type? Varchar. What will be the size? 20. I didn't say anything else. It won't have a default value. First names don't have default values. You could say not null if it is required. Otherwise, if nothing is required, you just do this. And then I'm going to add another column. And you can do it in one alter statement, guys. And we'll call it last name. Oops. And once you finish, put a semicolon. So single alter statement, you can do whatever you want. Alter table, do this, do this, do this, do this, do this, comma, 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 semicolon at the end. As long as the sequence is okay in the sense, if you're renaming a table, then of course you'll rename it and then use it. If you want to make something unique and you're adding a new column, you can't make it unique where you're adding it because otherwise it's a new column. So how can it be unique? All of them will either be empty or null or something. So therefore we do unique afterwards if we want. Done, my table is altered, right? So the description, the describe will tell me, was my table altered? Did I alter it properly? So all you do is run this. And my new table should show me two new fields, employee first name and employee last name. Now, if you want to change their positions, what do? You don't have to write the alter again. You can do it right here. You don't have to say, oh, let me first add them, and now let me modify them, and now let me move them. You don't have to. You shouldn't be doing it. One statement can do everything. So you want to put this after employee ID. Right? And you want to put this after. There is no before. In MySQL, there is no before. There is a first and there is an after.
That's also a question that I was going to ask you during our break about the before statement.
If I say before this field, you can always say after this field.
Right. Well, I just didn't want to get carried away with the on array of after.
That's okay. Whatever you have to do, you have to do. If before isn't working, after will work. If it is before a field, it is after some field, right?
Okay, so there is no before statement.
There is no before verb in MySQL.
Okay. Well, the next question is everybody.
Okay, and the next field was employee first name. There. So now if you describe it again, notice how they have taken their right positions. So don't add and then again don't modify. Like you did in your assignment on cars. First you add the new fields, then you try to change their position. Why? Just do it where you're doing them, right here. Why write redundant code? Why repeat it? And again, do it only when you need it. You don't have to move the rest of the fields. They're already in their right positions. You don't have to say date of hire after, salary weekly after. I don't want to modify those fields. They are in its right. I've moved two fields in the front. The rest automatically will move at the back. I don't have to put an after with everything. So think a little logically. Do you need to move the other fields? No, because they're already at their right position. Okay. So I've added two new fields. I've put them at their right position. I've given them names I wanted to give them, and they have a size. If I wanted a not null, I would, but that's not my thing. I'm now going to extract the first name and the last name from the employee name and then drop the field employee name. So this is my aim. I have a field called name. I want to break it into two. So now to do that, definitely you have to know what is the format of my employee name, because otherwise how will you split? If you have to use a string function on it, you have to know how it works. Now, how does it look? So let's go back and see how it looks. It is a field of size 40, right? And in the data, every employee has a first name, a blank, and a last name. That's how the format is. There could be more than one blanks, but there is a blank in between. There could be a comma in between, but there will be something to differentiate between them. The format, you have to know what the format is, because otherwise how will I split? I have to know whether the splitting character is a comma, is a blank, is a semicolon. I have to know it. So here it is okay to peek in the data, right? Peeking means I'm going and searching, how is it? So when I say in my question, don't peek in the data, I'm saying don't even bother what the data is. Look at the question. If it says use employee ID, use employee ID. If it says use title ID, use title ID. Don't try to do things that are not given to you in the question. But here I have to. Okay, so what do I now do? Now there are many string functions, as I told you. There are a few ways of doing it. I'll show you a couple, as I said, and then, I can show you different things in different ones. Now, there are functions by the help of which you can pick up something from the left and something from the right. So there is a left and there is a right. But I don't know what is the size of my fields. I can't say pick the first 4 characters from the left and that's the name, because Anju is 4, but Jared is 5, and Greg and Ross. So I can't do that. But I can do this. If I can find where my blank is, because that's my delimiter, then I can say pick everything from the left till the blank, pick everything from the right till the blank. That's one way of doing it, right? So I can use the left and the right functions. You've seen the left function. I've used it before in one of the assignments just to show you as a solution. But there are left and right. Okay, that's one way of doing it. The other way is there any other function which will extract it till the blank without finding the position of the blank? Yes, that can also be done. So let me show you a couple of solutions. Since I have those couple of solutions with me, I'll show you. Okay, so let's do this. Now, what will I need? If I want to put in values into my last name and first name, what do I need? Which statement do I use? Do I use insert? Do I use update? I heard update from one. Update. I don't want to insert a value. I want to change a value in the records that already exist. That's another mistake a few of you have made in your assignment. Insert means adding new records to the table. What do I want to do? In the records that already exist, I want to change the value of some fields. So I want to update the fields. Okay, so which fields do I want to update? So let's update. The name of the table is employees. Update my table. What do you want to do? You want to set the first name and you want to set the last name. But the main thing is, I can show you how it works, but let's see what are the functions. And again, if you go to the manual and say string functions, you'll find a whole big complete list. Which one to use? Depends upon what you've been doing and which one comes to your mind in the exam. But of course, when you're doing an assignment, you can go and look, can I use this? Oh, this is better, can I use this? So I'll just introduce a couple to you. Okay, so set the employee's first name to something. I can do it in one statement if I like by using commas. Remember, I can set more than one field at a time. Here I'll do them in different statements just because we are doing something for the first time. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to use a function called substring. Right? I'm going to use a function called substring index. Right? Now, again, you'll have to look it up. Not like you won't know what it is, but I'm telling you what it will do. Substring picks up a part of a string. Which string are you trying to pick up? It was called employee name, I think. Was it called employee name? Yeah, it is called employee name. Okay. This is the field I'm trying to work on, right? So which field? And it's not a big deal. You want to see it? I mean, I can, of course, show it to you. And you should know what they are. So just try to go string functions. MySQL. And if you, oh, there was the reference manual was right there. So they've shown a few, there it is. String substring index is right there, but all you have to do is you have to, if you like, you can open up the manual. And here are all the string functions that, so you see a concat, you've used concat before in one of the assignments. cLength tells you the length of a string, right? So you'll see lower will convert everything to lower. Upper will convert everything to upper, right? These are string functions. They only work on text fields, because they're string functions. So there is a match, there is a mid, there's so many, there are many of them, right? So I'm looking at substring, here it is. So what does it say? Let's click on it. It says returns the substring from the string str. That's your format. So the name of the function is substring index. String, what is str? The first parameter is the string that you're working on. What am I working on? Employee name. And then it comes delimiter. What is the delimiter? Till where do I want to go? Till where do I want to extract? For me, it is the blank. I'm trying to extract from the blank. And the third parameter is the count. And the count is, now look what the count is. It says if count is negative, everything to the right you get everything on the right. If it is positive, you get everything on the left. So let me write it for you. Let's see how to write it. So I'm working on EMP name. What is your delimiter? Till where do I have to go? Till the blank, right? So write your delimiter. So put a quote, a space bar, and a quote. That's your delimiter. It could have been a comma. It could have been a comma blank, but you have to know your delimiter. So my delimiter is a blank, right? You'll say, what happens if there are more than one blanks? We can always do that. Don't worry about it. But I want to look at a blank. From the left or from the right? From the left. So I'm looking for the first blank from the left. And I want to pick up everything to the first blank from the left. So a +1 says from the left. Okay. So that was the count, the third parameter. If it is a negative, you're looking from the right. If it is a positive, you're looking from the left. Position. 1 says the first blank. So there could be a middle name also. I only have first name and last name, but I could have a middle name. So Anju Kant Chawla, for example, right? So in that case, if you're looking for the second blank, you will put a 2 here. If you're looking for the third blank, you will put a 3 here. So anytime from the left means it's a positive number. 1 for the first blank, 2 for the second blank in my list, 3 for the third blank in my substring. That's what you're doing. So you can go 1, 2, and 3.
If you put a negative value.
Then I'll show you. I'll just show you. So there, that's what you want to pick up, right? I'll show you for the last name. I'll pick up from the left. I'll say -1, right? So if you're coming from the right, you go -1. Blank, the first blank from the right, second blank from the right, third blank from the right. Okay, that's how it works. Okay, so my employee first name, I'm going to set it to this. Then I've used a substring function. As I said, there are other ways of doing it. I can show it to you, but this is one way of doing it, right? And what do you want to do? So I could put a comma and do it here, and you know we can do it. I can put a comma right here, and I can set my employee last name right here. It's not an and, it's a comma. So this is the second field you're trying to set. Okay, now what do you want to set your last name to? You want to do the same thing, but instead of looking for the first blank from the left-hand side, you want to look for the first blank from the right-hand side. Put a -1. Now, what if it was, I'll show you. Let me run it, and then I'll show you variations so that it will make more sense. Instead of just doing it, I'll do it for you. So there is a substring index. Kind of think about it. What is it saying? It's saying find the position of the blank and then give me the substring till that blank. There is a function called index also. There is only a function called substring also. There are many, like as I said, there are so many. You could use anything. Let's see if this works. And of course, there is a semicolon here, right? So my fields will get populated. So let's try it. Because there is a select at the end. Notice what has happened. Anju, Chawla, Jarrett, Wright, Greg, Rodrigo, and Ross Bigley. They've been. Now I can always drop this column. I can always drop my column. Once I've done my separation, I can always drop it. No big deal, right? So what will you do? How do I drop a column? Alter my table. The name of the table was employees. And what's the verb? Do you remember? Drop column. And what was the name of the field? Employee name. Once you've done it, then you drop it, of course. Now let's look at a few things. So this will work, and it is working. So when I drop it, you won't see the name. The name is gone. Of course, you don't want to keep. You'll say, what if I want to recombine it? You can always use the concat to show it. You can always use the concat. So if I wanted to show, for whatever reason, I wanted to show the name of my employees, how will I do it? You can say select. What do you want to concat? And I'll show you the use of the alias name now so that you can appreciate it. Take your first name, put a blank in between, take your last name, last name, and from your table. Let's see what this will give. I'm concatenating the first name and the last name, and I'm putting a blank in between. If I don't put the blank, then it will look very untidy. You want to try without the blank? So these are small things, but here. Let's try this now. There it is. But notice there's no blank, so they got together. So you need a blank in between, right? So let's put a blank. So that's, I've concatenated it. Do you see the heading of this column? It is what you used here. That's what you want to see? No, it's very untidy. What do you want to see? You want to say something like as name. Name is a reserved word. So if I try to use it, it will be in blue. But if you still want to use it, you can put it in quotes. You can use it. You can use reserved words in MySQL, though I never recommend it. Because again, it's a bad habit, right? It's just a bad habit. But anytime you don't like the blue thing, you can always do it. I would go with something like this. Let's try it again. There it is. Better? Right? Oh, the blank is still missing. So as soon as you see an output, you say, oh, it's not neat because I forgot my blank. Right? So it works. That's your substring function. Now, let's see. What if by whoever has done it, suppose instead of one blank, they gave many blanks in my name. Or they gave a blank afterwards. Who knows? Like, things can happen, right? Let's just do it for my name so that we'll see. I could have blanks everywhere and anywhere. So I've put some blanks before my first name. I've put more than one blanks in between, and I've put some number of blanks after my first name. Now, when I say try to look for the first blank, see what happens. Let's run it. Unknown column EMP. What did I do? It's dropped afterwards. Okay, must be something. Okay, now let's look at what do you see? I don't have a name. What happened to it? Because I said, look for the first blank and pick up everything that's the first blank. So what happened to my Anju? The first blank was my first character itself, right? So I have no first name. Similarly, I said, look from the right and look for the first blank. And I had blanks there too. So what happens? I don't get a name, right? Which is because you never paid attention to it. You didn't think about it. You never thought about it. Let's see what happens here. So if I take this out and try it again, it's okay, it works, right? Because it tried to look for the first blank from the left hand side, stopped at Anju, tried to look from the right hand side and stopped at before the Chawla. The blanks in between kind of they were fine, it didn't work, and it's okay. But now you can't rely on, oh, how is the data put? So what's your aim? Always to use it correctly. Always to use it correctly. Okay, so I don't know how they were done. So I'll just again mess it up. So what is your first aim? Your first aim is, let's try to remove any blanks in the beginning and any blanks at the end, right? So how can I do that? There is a function. So when you try to do a substring on the employee name, trim it first. Trim removes the blanks from both the corners. There is a left trim, which only removes it from the left. There is a right trim, R trim and L trim, they are called. So L trim removes it from the left, R trim removes it from the right, trim removes it from both ends. So if I do something like this, trim your name before you use it. At least you've taken care of those extra blanks, because I've done that, right? You'll say, how can I trim the blanks in between? You cannot before you ask, right? I mean, there are ways of doing it, but not with trim. Okay, so now what happens is, I've taken my employee name, and before I use it, it's not changing the data in the table, guys. Before I use it, I'm trimming the extra blanks. So if I don't drop the column, it will still have that odd name. Let me not drop it for a minute. I want to show it to you. So comment it out for a minute. So let's see what happens, right? Let's run it. Okay, so that's, notice how many, like, where is it? There it is. So you can kind of guess. Notice, because J starts from a different position and A starts from different, there are blanks before the Anju. There are blanks after the Chawla, but of course you can see them, but there are blanks, and there are blank, more than one blanks in between. But notice my table now that I have it. My name has been split properly. But see, it's not removing from the original. So trim doesn't change the data. Trim is only saying trim it and use it. These functions don't change data. If you have to change them, then you have to update them. Right? So these functions only are changing while you use them. They don't change the original data. And that was to show you it hasn't changed the original data. It still is having blanks in the beginning and blanks in between. But with the trim, before I used my employee name, I trimmed it. So there is an L trim, an R trim, and a trim. Yes?
So trims to eliminate excess of white space.
Left and right, exactly, not in between. Not in between. Then how do I have my right names? Because in between it really doesn't matter. My function is saying look for the first blank and stop. So Anju blank 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 doesn't matter. Anju blank, oh, it got the first blank, it stopped. From the right, it had Chawla and it got the first blank and stopped. It still has blanks. I didn't bother to. I would have taken more care if there was a middle name, because to go to that middle name, I'll have to ignore the blanks in between. So you have to manipulate it. You have to use functions as you when you need it. But to be on the safe side, what I've done is I've trimmed my name before I use it. I may not require it, but who says, will you check all the 1,000 names that are in your database? No. Do it the right way and you're safe. So extra blanks on right and left are removed. My name is okay now. My first name is Anju. My last name is Chawla. And of course, I didn't drop it, so you can kind of see this extra. I wanted to show you it doesn't change the original field. It just trims it before this. So that's kind of being on the safe side. Okay. Now I couldn't have used left and right functions here because I don't know what is the length of my name. So I can't do that. But there are functions left and right where you can extract some characters from the left, some characters from the right. And you can always try them out. I mean, nothing stops you from trying them out. And you'll say, how can I do that? You can always give a select, guys. You can try all your functions by using select. Nothing stops you. So you can write a select. So suppose I want to start from the left and I want to say select left of my employee name. Was it called employee? Oh, I've dropped it. So let's not drop it. Then otherwise I won't be able to use it. I mean, there are functions. There are no end of functions. If you want to extract the first 4 characters from the left, then you can, the select statement just kind of will show you the result. If you want to, I mean, there's nothing, so it will extract the first 4 characters. Now again, remember alias name. I don't know. It's not something that is making sense at all, but I'll call it first 4 characters or just first name, which is incorrect actually. I'm assuming that everybody has 4 characters in their first name, which is of course not correct. But look at the output. Oh, notice why it has blank, blank, a blank, because those are the first 4 characters of my name. I could have trimmed it again before I used it. You can do a left trim here. So now I can show you the use of left trim here. So let's try to do a left trim. So before you use the name, left trim it. So there is no shortage of functions. And how do I know what I need to do? Before you submit, look at your outputs and see, is it something that is making sense? But notice what has happened to poor Jared's name. Because I only extracted 4, I only see J-A-R-E. So this is not the correct way of doing it. Of course it is not, because everybody's first name can be a different name. This was just showing you like how does left work. If there is a left, there is a right. If there is an L trim, there is an R trim. Okay, so this is just to show you it's not the right answer, of course. The length, you can always find out the length. So select just gives you, I mean, it's a way of checking your answers. If you want to look at the length of your name, so the function is called length. Oops. I think I should go all lowercase, it's just easier. And from table employees. Again, if you don't give it a proper heading, it's kind of useless. Let's see length of name. And run it. There it is. So my name, just because it has so many blanks, again, you can trim it if you like. At least you can trim the right and the left. You can't trim. The trim doesn't work in between. There are ways of getting around it, but I mean, there are just more functions, which I can, I'm sure, leave to you. Right? There it is, right? So that gives you the length. There is only a substring also. So we can do like your left here. Let's put it here so that you can see it here. There is also a function called substring. Right? So a substring function says, on what are you working? I'm working on EMP name. I'm working on EMP name. And again, all you have to do is if you, of course, you can't remember all of them. So there it is. I see a substring right here. So what does the substring, and there are a few options. Notice substring has, there is a SP. It's the same thing. It's just a synonym, right? It's the same thing. You can use a substring without the ing. You can use it with this. What is it saying? There are a few options. It is saying in a string, start at this position and go till the end. It says start from this position and go for these many characters and so on. The forms without, I mean, there are so many forms. I'll show you one. So I'm saying start from this position and give me 2 of them. Right? So you can try whatever you like. It's just doing stuff. I mean, it's an odd, I don't know what to even call it. It's kind of an odd one, but anyway, because I'm just doing stuff for you that's not making a lot of sense. My aim is to show you. Okay, so what have I said? Take a substring, pick up your name, starting from position 1, give me 2 characters. Okay, that's what I'm saying. So let's see what happens. So of course, I won't get anything because I had so many blanks in front of it. You can trim it if you like. So what has it done? It has started from position 1 and given you 2. So 1 means start at position number 1. And how many characters am I asking for? 2. So JA of Jared, GR of Greg, RO of Ross, and blank blank of Anju. I had blank 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 blank, and then I had Anju. Right? And you'll say, oh, if I don't want to do that, trim it. Right? But I'm just showing you functions. Right? Now, Yeah, go ahead.
We are used to start with 0. But
Yeah, I mean, yeah, here the position is what position number. It is saved with like, don't think, but yeah, that's what it is. So every time you have to use a string function, look it up. And that's why I went to look it up, right? Because it could be different in Java and it could be different here, right? If you don't want to give your second one, you say, I want to pick up everything that starts from position number 4. Doesn't matter what that fourth position is. And I want to go till the end. We'll say from 4, position 4, just to show you. So you needn't give the third parameter at all. So all you're doing is the start from my 4th position and everything till the end. See, notice, oh yeah, I always see my name and say, oh, something is wrong. No, I had blanks in between. So what position did it start with? Position number 4. So Jarrett was J-A-R. So it should start from E. So it started from E. And then the rest, so I didn't say how many. So it is taken till the end of the list. Right, so you don't have to memorize all this. You don't have to, they're all here. All you have to do is how to read it, okay? So what does it say? The forms without a length argument, without a length means the third parameter is not given, returns a string from the string starting at position pause. Right, the forms with a length argument return a string of these many characters from the string starting at position pause. Now to see what this pause means, the forms that use from or whatever, oh, here, it is also possible to use a negative value for pause. In this case, the beginning of the string is characters from the end of the string. See, you have a negative position here also. Instead of starting from the left, you can start from the right, position becomes negative. So when you use them, read about them and use them. Right, so as I said, there is no end to it. I could do so many, but yeah, Henry said, oh, position is not from 0. And I didn't know myself. I mean, I had to double check it. So from the look of looks, it's starting position 1 is position 1. Because here you see start from position 4 means J-A-R-E-T, Jarrett, E-T starts. So you'll have to just see how it works. And it's not rocket science, guys. You've done it so many times in so many languages. Yes, Bradley?
No, I was wondering, did we solve the problem of an error regarding the update statement for substring indexes? Because when I went to run the file, it said you were using save update mode.
Yeah, so you've seen this 1001 times. If you have this problem, I don't have it. It's been set for me. What do? You set. What do you set it to? How, if the safe updates is coming, what do you set it to? What was it called? Oh, I forget myself because I don't need it. What is it called? SQL safe updates, I think, right? Or safe updates. What is it, guys? Anybody who remembers? SQL safe updates? Okay, thank you. Is equal to 0. Oh, and we'll need this in, do we need, no, we don't. There. That's how you do it. If you're getting problems that your updates are not safe, set it. I didn't need to because I think it's set in my environment. That's why I always say, set it always, set your environment. Then you don't have to bother about, am I working on Dreammail? Does Anju have it set or not? And some of you didn't do it in the exam. You didn't because I think you had set it in your menu or somewhere. So you didn't bother to give me that set statement. So I had to go and change it in my environment. I shouldn't be doing it. Your script should run on any environment as long as you set it properly. Right? So before you give it to me, you don't know how my environment is set. So set it for your script and you can't go wrong. Right? You don't rely on my environment and you shouldn't. How will you know what is the environment on the server? And you can't go and call the server guy, can you change it for me? Of course he won't change it for you. You know what I mean? It's not in your hands. So put your set statement, set your environment as you like it, and you're okay anywhere and everywhere. So a couple of you didn't bother to give me this. And then of course your update statements were not working. You had this warning or error of safe updates. So I went and changed, and that's why mine is changed now. But when I write a script, I always do it. So you do it also. That way you can remember. Okay, so that takes care of a few functions. As I said, it's not the end of it. I showed you substring index. I showed you left, right. I showed you concat. I showed you length. There is an L trim, right trim, and so on and so forth. But I think that's enough at least for employees. Okay, we'll go to the next one now. We'll go to the next one now, and it's 1:13. Let's take a break here because we won't be able to finish it in 5 minutes for sure. Let's take a break, and the next one I'll work on will be donations. Okay, I'll do a few more string functions before I go to advanced select. So take a break. Please come back in 20 minutes.
you're all caught up with your.
For some reason, I cannot find the blank. It doesn't.
Let's see. Did you put a code space bar code? Did you put a blank?
Yeah, like I'm gonna finish everything.
That's
Everything's stuck up.
okay, now it's no, the first, just one blank. Not more than one. It's just one blank.
Yeah, so like my mentors here, but like yeah. Hopefully,
More than that is one. Really, there can only be one. You could have a comma blank, but that's the character. You see
Well,
the blanks and then there are
you're only missing like half.
first and
Percent.
Delimiter can be more than one character, but it has to be. So you need to find the
Hard for me to make it.
I don't know, like like we prepared for an assignment.
Oh yes, Karan, right? I hardly ever see you. I send you emails and you never come and see me. Yeah, I sent you one long mail with Ritesh, right? And I thought Ritesh came and saw it. That was some in-class assignment. He never came and saw it. Then,
That time I didn't see the not 2 days before I have.
yeah, this is for your relational database exam, right? And I told you to come and see in my office.
Yeah, actually, yesterday I was at last night.
Okay. Then you didn't come and show your card game to me because your partner, what is it? I asked him who's your partner. He said Karan. I said, where is he? I don't know. I said, please email him and call him. And you were right. So now, if you don't come and show me your assignment, why should I give you this? I don't even think you know what's going on in your game. If I tell you to explain it to me, you don't even know what's going on because he wrote it, right? So if you're partnering with somebody, how can you just leave it to your partner to do it? Then you're not getting marks for it because I'm talking to the partner. I'm saying how much work did Karan do.
Am I gonna build something on the situation? Because it's gonna be
So he said, he didn't say anything, he was quiet, that means nothing, right? Then you don't even come and show it to me because you're working. So you have to, I know you have to work, but you have to adjust between working and school work, right? Otherwise, I'm not giving you marks. It's as simple as that. And I give you 3 slots. I said in any of my office hours. So I have 3 office hours in a week. You have to adjust it. Otherwise, I'm not giving you marks. And I don't think you did anything in the game. Did you write any code in that game? Then should you be getting marks for it? Did you come and present it? Okay, now here, the main thing here, I have to have my lunch. So the main thing here for at least this, you got an email for the relational database, right? Did you do it on your own?
Actually, I was sitting here.
Okay, that's okay. Did you ask for help from somebody? Did somebody send you your code? So you didn't call anybody, you didn't text anybody, and because your work is matching somebody's else in class. That's the problem. So now I have to figure out what happened.
I don't see any assignment.
Yeah, if you just mentioned, I left.
No,